Measles was something to fear. When you hear, I heard Jenny McCarthy years ago on Oprah's show saying, "I'll take the measles every time," because she didn't want to give her child a measles vaccine, measles-containing vaccine, because she thought that would cause autism. What that tells you is that it's not only that we've largely eliminated measles, we've eliminated the memory of measles. People don't remember how sick that virus can make you. But I think what's happened? What's happened is that according to the CDC, there are now more kindergarten vaccine exemptions than ever before. They're over 3%. In some jurisdictions, over 5%. And they predicted in that morbidity and mortality weekly report that there's been a loss of herd immunity. And you're seeing that. Last year, we had 4 outbreaks of measles with about 50 cases. This year, we have 16 outbreaks of measles with about 250 cases. Get to a couple thousand, measles has a mortality of about 0.1%. So get to a couple thousand cases of measles, which is perfectly possible, and you're going to see measles deaths again. And I don't think people realize how contagious this virus is. We have the flu model, or the SARS-CoV-2 COVID model, which has a reproducibility index of about 2 to 4. Measles has a reproducibility index of 18, and here's why. It's not transmitted just by direct person-to-person spread. You just have to be in that person's airspace within 2 hours of them being there. When someone comes into our emergency department with suspected measles and they bring them back to a treatment room, they'll occasionally bring old people like me down to take a look, because I know what measles looks like, because I've had a lot of experience with measles, and measles makes you sick. I can really tell within 30 seconds whether somebody has measles. But let me just tell you one quick story to give you an idea of the contagiousness. This was a story that was reported in New England Journal of Medicine years ago. So there's a story of a 17-year-old girl as part of a church group. She gets on a plane to Romania. She visits an orphanage, she visits a hospital, and then unknown to her, she catches measles. Gets back on the plane, comes back home. Within a couple of days, she goes to a church picnic that involves 500 people. This wasn't a fundamentalist church. People were vaccinated. But so of the 500 people at that picnic, 35 had never been vaccinated and had never been naturally infected. Okay, so she's at the church picnic for 2 hours. 31 of those 35 people got measles, which tells you she didn't have to have direct contact with them. This is a highly contagious disease, and this is what I fear the most.
And well, the incubation period is very long, right?
It's about 7, 10, as long as 14, sometimes as long as 21 days, yeah.
And so that's a problem, because I tell the parents, and you're going to laugh. Please don't think less of me after I say this story. But I tell people that if HIV gave you a red dot in the middle of your forehead, no one in their sane mind, no matter how drunk they were, would have sex with you. And that's what is one of the problems of these very effective bacteria or viruses that don't give you symptoms, and you walk around either incubating or asymptomatic, because nobody knows to fear you. And that's one problem with measles. A long incubation period allows you to go around your life and hug other kids, kiss other people, go to parties, and you're infecting the world, and no one knows any better.
And that's right.
And second of all, the other thing that's a problem is the late complication, right? Some kids died of a progressive encephalitis months after they developed measles, correct? And it's a devastating disease that there is no cure. Your kid slowly fades away into the grave.
Yeah, so I'll take the second one first. So you're right. It's called subacute sclerosing panencephalitis. It's a chronic measles infection of the brain. It's usually years later. And I've seen 3 cases in my life, and it's devastating. Children gradually their handwriting becomes less legible. They start to have personality changes, and then they lose motor and sensory skills, and they die. It's invariable that they die. There are drugs that are given that make no difference, and they die. They die a chronic, miserable death of SSP.